How do I explain this? Jein? Like the Germans say, ja und nein? Hello you guys, and welcome to the Life in Germany channel. Over here you will find all of my tips and tricks to moving on over here to Germany as a foreigner, as an expat, and I like to share the good, the bad, and yes, the ugly. So for those of you who don't know, I recently opened up a new Instagram channel, which was Life in Germany _ Life in Germany was clearly already taken. It has been doing really well. On the other side of things, it's been really tough to manage it, and that's because I receive at least 80 to 100 messages a day from you guys asking very similar questions, many of which I actually include in my freebie checklist that I will link down below as per usual. It goes through a 12-step checklist that you need when you're getting started here in Germany, all the way from getting your visa down to landing that job, finding your apartment, and getting settled. Now, the remainder of you are often asking me, is it really worth moving to Germany in 2022? That's a really hard question to answer. And I'm just going to say right off the bat that only you can answer that for yourself. How do I explain this? I don't feel like one person can solely be the reason why you make a final decision as to whether you would like to or would not like to move to Germany. Needless to say, obviously a lot has been going on in the past few years, not just within Germany, but all over the world. For a lot of people, this has allowed us to kind of, I guess, rethink the way that we live our lives and whether or not we're happy doing what we want to do. A lot of us have entirely changed career paths, decided that we want to travel more, decided that we wanted to be closer to family. I know since the pandemic hit for me, being away from my family has been harder than ever, just knowing that there is an external force that can actually keep me away from my family, something that's never existed before. I have personally experienced and seen many international families moving back home or moving to a new country for a new experience. That wasn't necessarily to say because they didn't like Germany, but simply because they needed a change for whatever reason that might be, because we are all reevaluating our lives and what we want for the next 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever years. And in light of recent events here in Europe and what is going on over in the Ukraine, obviously makes a lot of people reconsider whether or not it's safe to move to Germany. The amount of times in the past week, you guys, that I have gotten questions from you guys asking, should I be moving to Germany in 2022, or is there going to be a World War III started? Well, A, how am I supposed to answer that for you? I have no clue. I mean, if you're asking from my point of view, I am not a mind reader. I do not know what tomorrow will bring. I can tell you that from my experience living in Germany, I feel like we've done a lot as a community, as a whole country, to help and support those coming from the Ukraine, those fighting in the Ukraine. And I've personally felt quite proud to say that I am living in a country where we have offered so much incredible support thus far. So when we're talking about the potential of a World War III breaking out, my response to you guys would be, do as much research as you possibly can without totally inducing this insane amount of fear. Fear is not good for anybody. The best we can do is support right now, and if you do not feel comfortable and you are absolutely terrified to come to Germany because you think a World War III is going to break out, well then maybe you should reconsider your options. If it's something that you've just been dabbling around and curious about, well, why don't you come to Germany for yourself? Take a visit different cities, different towns, see if you could picture yourself living here, for example. It all depends on how you feel. Personally, I feel entirely safe living here in Germany, and from one foreigner to another, I can say it definitely helps knowing that I have a backup plan. That's something that I never considered pre-pandemic, actually, about what would happen if I had to quarantine for 2 months, or we had to evacuate our houses, or we had to do something that wasn't necessarily planned. Do I have the money for it? Do I have the food prepared? Do I have enough resources that I need to make sure that myself and my family are safe? Since the pandemic and since the breakout of the war, These are things that you often think about a lot more, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. For me, I've now made sure that I have enough canned goods stocked up in my fridge in case we need to quarantine, that I have at least 3 months of salary saved up in my bank account in case anything goes wrong, and that it never hurts to pull an old granny trick and hide a few €100 under the rug. Another thing that I've really been thinking about and considering is increasing the assets that I have back at home in Canada, making sure that my bank account over there is fully stocked if for some reason we ever did decide to move over to Canada, or if we ever needed to evacuate Germany. I think you can be scared of everything. You can be scared of anything, and I think as long as you're prepared and as long as you know what to expect when moving here to Germany, there's no reason why you shouldn't be moving on over here to Germany. And I just want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor of this video, which kind of goes hand in hand. This is actually what started making me think about actually putting together a video answering this almighty question that you guys have for me. And today's sponsor is actually Paysend. Now, a lot of you have probably already heard of them. They've been quite quick to enter the market, and they are fierce. They are a money transfer company that you can actually just hop on the app, send money in a matter of seconds. I've been looking into actually sending some of my money overseas back to Canada so that I do have a good lump sum of money over there in case anything did happen. And of course, it never hurts, as I mentioned, to have a plan in place in case anything were to go wrong. I actually have a code that I'm going to share with you that will give you guys and myself 3 absolutely free money transfers. But the biggest thing, and I've mentioned this before in one of my videos about transferring money from Germany or to Germany, is that you always have to watch out with the exchange rate. In this case, when I checked it out with Paysend, I went online, I did the research, and I actually found out that the transfer rate they were giving me was less than the one that I was actually finding online. It really is a next generation money transfer platform. You can send your money to over 100 countries worldwide, and today I'm gonna show you just exactly how to do that. You can just click send. It will ask you exactly which currency you would like to send to, and you can estimate, okay, say I wanna send 200 euros today. There's also a little notification here which tells you how much the fee is going to be. Typically that would be €1.50 because I already have my account and I've already input our code, which is Life in Germany, by the way, so it's very easy to remember. And I will also include that down below for you guys too. So we can click continue. I will enter the recipient's information. You can either pay from Apple Pay or you can pay via a MasterCard or Visa. So now all that's left to do is pay. Ding! You'll see the notification from my Vivid account up there. You just have to enter your passcode. We have gotten that message now, and we are going to punch that in and get our money. So now that you entirely understand why it's so important to be prepared, I also want to talk a little bit more about the pandemic because, of course, things are changing constantly. I have felt overall really safe here in Germany, despite the fact that a lot of my international friends and family outside of Germany seem to think that I'm living in like a virus-infested bubble of a country. Now, I am aware that the population of Germany is much smaller than, let's say, USA, India, or Brazil, but it also ranks as the 6th most infected country in the entire world. Kind of sounds nerve-wracking when I say it out loud like that, and I understand why you guys might be sending me 1,000,001 questions about, is it actually safe to come here in the middle of this pandemic? Again, in this regard, I would say you should probably experience it on your own. I think watching the news is actually the worst thing you can possibly do in regards to gaining more information on the pandemic itself, because depending on where you watch the news, I have to say in North America, news outlets have a really good talent for instilling fear into the citizens of North America. If you're asking for my opinion, living here in Germany in the pandemic, yes, it's been hard. From what I gather from my family and friends over in Canada, sometimes it actually seems even harder over there, despite the fact that the numbers have been significantly lower than they have over here in Germany. I have had the virus a couple years ago. It wasn't nice. So I think that you really just have to judge it based on how is your health, how comfortable are you being in public, Are you going to be wearing a mask? Does it really bother you that Germany wants to remove this mandate to actually have to wear those masks? And come actually check it out for yourself. And of course, disclaimer here, obviously I am not a doctor. I am not telling you come to Germany because it's safe. I am just simply saying take the precautions, be informed on the current rules, the current situation, and come and experience Germany for yourself. And before I wrap this little pep talk up, I also just want to mention the third point as to why people are really terrified to move to Germany in 2022. And that is the idea that it is impossible to find a job as a foreigner here in Germany. If you ask me, my answer will always be jein, like the Germans say, ja und nein. It is tough to find a job as a foreigner. You also have to realize if you don't speak German, then you're at a disadvantage. But where you are at an advantage is possibly the fact that you are multilingual, that you speak a language that maybe not necessarily all Germans speak. The good thing that's come out of this pandemic, of course, is that there are a lot more opportunities for working virtually. So if you have the opportunity, if you have the visa to do it, then perhaps you could even move to Germany and work for an international company abroad. That would be great if that was an option. If it's not an option, things have actually gotten a little bit easier for many people. Last year, I believe Germany just launched a new Skilled Immigration Act, which actually makes it easier for skilled immigrants to find jobs here in Germany. Obtaining a job-seeking visa for up to 6 months for non-EU nationals is now very, very much a possibility. With that being said, it also seems to be much easier to actually have your foreign qualifications recognized here in the German job market. Of course, it always depends on what you've studied and where there's currently a need for which employees, but this is research that you're gonna have to do on your own, and I give a lot of tips in my freebie checklist that can also really, really help you. But at the end of the day, when you guys are asking me all of these questions on a daily basis, the only thing that rolls through my mind is that all I can tell you is that I am happy here in Germany, and I think that you can't forget how beautiful this country is, how lucky we are to be here, and how many wonderful advantages we have being citizens or being residents of Germany. Germany is amazing. I love my life here. I have not ever reconsidered moving back home to Canada. It's nice to know that I have a Canadian passport, that I have a Canadian family back home, and that in the event that anything were to happen, I do always have a backup plan. So I think that should go for you too. Do what you dream of, do what you love. Sometimes life is shorter than you think, and I think that as long as we are being safe, we are being practical, and we are doing everything that we can to make sure that we are well prepared and that we have a backup plan, then I don't see any reason why you should cancel your plans to move to Germany or why you should think of leaving Germany. And I hope that this helps a little bit, but I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to answer this question on my terms over here on YouTube. I would love to know what you guys think about the situation. I'm aware that people have very, very different points of view in regards to these topics, so feel free to speak your mind. I will not judge. I am so thankful to have every single one of you watching my videos, und wie immer, vielen, vielen lieben Dank. Bis später.